Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 65. We're going to talk about Horror of the Wolf from 1973. I had to watch this on the Internet Archive. I had not seen this before. We're going to begin by discussing the prominent crew and cast. This film was directed by Masashi Matsumoto, written by Yun Fukuda and Fumio Ishimori, billed as Shijiro Ishimori. I couldn't find the individual responsible for the effects makeup. John Fukuda is best known for directing 5 Godzilla movies. The cast includes Taro Shigaki as Akira Unagami, aka the Wolf Guy, Yoko Ichiji as Akiko Ashika, billed as Masako Iki, Yasuko Matsuda as Do Haguro, Toshitaka Ito as Rikiya Kuroda, and Sayoka Kato as Ryoki Konohime. This is the first film role of Yasuko Matsuda, who is considered one of Japan's most important film actors. Several manga, anime, and video game characters are based on him, including Kenshiro in Fist of the North Star, Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop, Akoji in One Piece, Wabisubi in the Summer Wars, and Jubei Yagyu in Onimusha 2. He died at the age of 40 as a consequence of cancer. Now, this was a really hard film to track down, and ultimately it felt a little silly. I'll go into why later, but I think you can go ahead and skip this one. This film does stay very close to the original Wolf Guy manga series, so it has that going for it. Let's review the synopsis. The film opens on a snowy tundra. A boy plays with wolves. Suddenly, a helicopter appears and armed individuals ruthlessly gun down the boy's parents before setting their cabin ablaze. Cut to a big city, Tokyo, I presume. 4 punks beat up and stab Akira Unagami while Miss Aoshika watches. She passes out. Inugami, enrolling in a new school, faces resistance from the administrators due to his troublesome reputation, and it is revealed that he is the boy from the opening scene. His billionaire aunt is his guardian. Kuroda polishes his bokken, not a euphemism, and throws a knife at Inugami. Inugami coolly returns it and accuses Kuroda of being a bedwetter. All the girls swoon over Inugami. Tough guy Haguro shows up and has a staring contest with Inugami. He also carries an actual katana at school. Miss Aoshika makes Inugami take his shirt off to check if he was stabbed. Ryuku flirts with Inugami and tells him that he will either join Haguro or get beaten up. 2 masked thugs sexually assault another student. That escalated quickly. A dozen students with various wooden weapons beat the living tar out of Inugami. He does not fight back at all. He does accuse Kuroda of being one of the rapists. Kuroda pulls a knife, but Haguro steps in and uses his katana to carve the kanji for dog into Inugami's back. Inugami doesn't make a sound. Miss Aoshika tries to check on Inugami at his aunt's estate, but he's not there. The kid's got his own luxury apartment. Inugami has the head of a wolf. Miss Aoshika tackles him, trying to take off the mask, but it won't come off. Somehow, they are in a green forest. This made no sense to me. In the scuffle, he accidentally grabs her bosoms. Inugami tells her he just wants to be left alone. On her way home, Miss Aoshika is attacked and sexually assaulted by 2 motorcycle-driving thugs. Inugami, in wolf form, kills the pair and saves her. A reporter, who calls himself a lone wolf, tries to get Miss Aoshika to tell him about her rescuer. She won't talk, but he knows it was a wolf that saved her. Inugami gets beat up regularly at school. He will not defend himself. Some good kids try to defend him and get themselves beat up in the process. The teachers ineffectively try to discipline the gang. Ryuku tries to flirt with Inugami, and he dumps her in the fountain. There's a musical interlude mourning how lonely Inugami is while he runs around a lot. The good kids beg Inugami to stand up to the bullies for the school's sake, but he's not having it. The good kids hold a rally with the high school version of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club's band, with several thugs wearing metal helmets arriving to dust up the event. Chaos ensues, but the band keeps right on playing, turns into a full-scale riot. Teachers get beat up too. Inugami naps throughout it all until someone tries to hurt Miss Aoshika, and Kuroda pulls a switchblade. Inugami finally fights back. He tricks Kuroda into falling on his own knife. By the way, the reporter just watches the whole thing. Miss Aoshika tries to follow Inugami home. When he makes it back to his apartment, he finds Ryuku there naked and immediately throws her out. Ryuku gets so jealous that she beats Miss Aoshika up and ends up stabbing Inugami in the arm with a broken bottle when he defends the teacher. The reporter finally tells Miss Aoshika the truth. Inugami is a werewolf, strongest under the full moon, weakest at the new moon. The reporter thinks Haguru is planning to kill Inugami at the next new moon. She goes to Haguru to ask him to stop. Instead, he imprisons her, tosses her around, and then sexually assaults her. He's figured out that she's the only thing that will get Inugami to fight back. The reporter tells Inugami what's happening. Inugami can tell the reporter is a werewolf too. Inugami finally snaps out of his lethargy and runs a long way to rescue Miss Aoshika. He gets shot with an arrow and stabbed with a knife, but makes it to her. She tells him it's a trap. He knows. He breaks her chains, but Haguru has a gun. Haguru taunts Inugami with what he's done and then goes to torture the injured Inugami with a katana. Somehow, the moon miraculously goes from new to full in the sky, and Inugami wolfs out. Haguru empties his pistol into Inugami with no effect. Inugami tears out Haguru's throat and falls unconscious. Miss Aoshika pulls him out while the reporter lights the building on fire. Haguru's dad shows up to avenge his son. Inugami goes full wolf again and kills all the Yakuza thugs, shrugging off machine guns, shotguns, and all manner of weapons. Afterwards, the reporter rescues both and drives the pair off into a blizzard. Unlike the unofficial sequel, Wolf Guy, Horror of the Wolf has Inugami turn into a proper werewolf. I'm afraid, however, it looks silly. They tried to put a proper wolf's head on a human's body, and it just looks like a mask. I laughed when I first saw it, which is probably not the reaction that the crew was aiming for. There aren't any real transformation scenes. He's just all of a sudden has a wolf's head. This film very much lays out the lore Wolf Guy will follow. Wolfmen are essentially superheroes, whose powers are directly tied to the phase of the moon. Supernatural reflexes, strength and endurance, toughness and regeneration, enhanced sight, smell, and hearing. Inugami is always in control of his actions. There is no mention of any weakness for werewolves. One interesting thing is that this film used animals to symbolize the three main characters, Akira Inugami as a wolf, Akiko Aoshika as a deer, and Do Haguro as an eagle. In the manga, Kuroda is associated with the rat, but that was dropped during the process of adapting the manga to the film. We see shots of each of those characters superimposed over a carved figurine of the specific animal. I briefly considered studying what these animals symbolize in Japanese culture, but quickly realized that much of the information I could easily access was contradictory, and frankly, I didn't feel like I could trust it at all. So instead, I'll talk about the associations that I made watching the film. If you know more about the Japanese cultural representations of these symbols, please speak up in the comment section below. First, let's talk about symbolism of the wolf. One big difference between this film and most of the werewolf films made in the Western world is the lack of focus on the wolf as a predator. Here, the wolf is depicted as a guardian and protector. The wolf is reluctant to involve itself in the affairs of humans. We, humanity, are the dangerous ones. The primary attributes we see associated with the wolf are strength, resilience, and wildness. Inugami suffers a lot. He does so in silence. He never surrenders his dignity. This, more than anything, is what Haguru wants to take from Inugami. Moving on to the symbolism of the deer. The association between Miss Aoshika and the deer felt natural to me. Deer are quiet, timid creatures, and that certainly reflects Aoshika. But at the same time, the deer sustains life. It is a source of sustenance. Additionally, the deer symbol felt pure, even in the face of predation and degradation. Inugami shows his strength by nobly accepting the beatings, but he's got the power and the strength of the wolf. Miss Aoshika does her best to protect her students, knowing that she has no such strength and understanding that she will fail. Finally, let's move on to the symbolism of the eagle. The eagle represents strength and power in this film. Haguru sits above everyone else, watching coldly. He preys on those that are below him, and that's everyone. He exhibits the cruelty of the raptor, striking without warning from his position of relative safety. He is keenly perceptive, somehow figuring out the truth about Inugami. He knows everyone's weakness. The other thing I thought of is that freedom and independence, represented by the boundless freedom of flight. No one tells Haguru what to do. Not the teachers, not other students. We see no signs of Haguru's parents until his father shows up after he's dead to avenge him. If anything, we see that Haguru and Inugami have too much freedom. Now, my main issue with the Horror of the Wolf is just how reluctant Inugami is to engage and interact with humanity. I spent 90% of the movie growing increasingly frustrated, waiting for the action to begin. You know it's going to happen. We all know what's going to happen. I can forgive the cheesy 70s fashion and soundtrack. I can forgive the odd high school band. I can even overlook the weird makeup job. I can't forgive 60 minutes of the hero telling everyone to leave him alone. So let's talk about The Reluctant Hero, discuss a current movie with a modern hero that works, and compare Paul Atreides to Akira Inugami. Now, the reluctant hero archetype is a timeless one found in stories throughout history. At the heart of the archetype lies a protagonist resistant to the heroic call to action, often due to fear, self-doubt, or a desire to maintain the status quo. Properly executed, this reluctance can set the stage for a compelling character arc as the hero grapples with internal conflicts before ultimately embracing their role as a champion of justice or a defender of the oppressed. Their journey is not one of unyielding resolve, but rather one of reluctant acceptance, marked by hesitation and uncertainty. This internal struggle adds depth to the character, making their eventual transformation all the more satisfying. Throughout the narrative, the reluctant hero is often thrust into situations challenging their beliefs, values, and sense of identity. They may grapple with feelings of inadequacy or imposter syndrome. However, these challenges compel the hero to confront their fears and insecurities, ultimately catalyzing growth and development. Central to the reluctant hero's journey is a concept of personal transformation. As they navigate the trials and tribulations of their quest, they undergo a profound metamorphosis, evolving from bystander into courageous champion. This transformation is often accompanied by a newfound sense of purpose and self-realization, and as the hero discovers the true extent of their capabilities and the importance of standing up for what is right. By the story's conclusion, the reluctant hero emerges as a changed individual, forever shaped by their experiences and the challenges they have overcome. Paul Atreides from Frank Herbert's Dune and Akira Inugami from the Japanese manga Wolf Guy, Uokami no Moonshao, can both be characterized as reluctant heroes, hesitant to embrace their roles. Paul, the scion of House Atreides, is thrust into the politically volatile and treacherous world of Arrakis, forced to navigate intricate interplanetary power struggles and fulfill his prophesied role as the Lisan al-Gaib and Kwisatz Haderach, a messianic figure with the potential to reshape the future of the universe. Akira Inugami, a high school student in modern-day Tokyo, has supernatural werewolf abilities and just wants to be left alone. Despite their initial reluctance, both characters eventually come to protect those they care about. Paul also takes on the mantle of leadership, driven by a sense of duty. Paul grapples with the weight of his ancestral legacy and the burdens imposed upon him by the Bene Gesserit sisterhood and the machinations of the Emperor and the Harkonnens. Again, Akira just wants to be left alone. Both characters struggle to reconcile their desires with external demands, leading to internal conflicts and moments of self-reflection. Both Paul and Akira face formidable adversaries, challenging them and undermining their goals. Paul contends with political rivals, religious zealots, and powerful factions vying for control of Arrakis and the coveted spice melange. Akira confronts corrupt officials, inept administrators, youth gangs, and the Yakuza of Tokyo. Now, Paul's reluctance to embrace his role as a hero stems from internal conflicts and moral dilemmas. His reticence makes sense. He is afraid of his role in violence to come. He struggles with the ethics of benefiting from the religious and political propaganda disseminated by the Bene Gesserit. Will he be a liberator to the Fremen or their next oppressor? Additionally, Paul learns and grows, catalyzed by his experiences on Arrakis and his encounters with the indigenous Fremen people. These experiences spark a sense of responsibility and an understanding of the importance of taking the reins of the future. He is afraid of what he will do with the power, but he knows he won't be worse than the status quo. Inugami's reluctance to take action stems from petulance. He's not afraid. He knows he's stronger than anyone. He just wishes no one would bother him. So frustrating. So if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan on discussing Cat People from 1962. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back next episode.